ED1B, pod...
4, 7.
4. I don't know where this pod 7 comes from. Pod 7 doesn't exist. Pod 4.
Yeah.
So that's 2 lots of... Okay. So pod 4, assemble a song challenge. You did it yesterday. I've already had a discussion with you about all those different processes, about the diplomatic process, about the forming of chords and etc, etc. What I want to ask you is, who took the lead or the initiative? Who was like the main instigator when it came to what were the chords, what order you were going to play them?
I don't know, we sort of played them on piano with them a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Who played the piano?
Yeah.
So Ben, congratulations.
I wasn't the main instigator though.
I don't think we had a main instigator.
We all sort of did it together.
Great. So brilliant diplomatic process. But so when you decided the order you were going to play those chords in, am I right in thinking you had already preordained the flow of the track, the tempo of the track, the time signature of the track?
Well, yeah, we wanted it to be sort of like slow at first, but then it wasn't really working, so we tried something with a little bit more like energy, and it was a little bit better that way.
When you say energy, do you sort of translate that into thinking it just has to be faster to
Not
have
faster,
more energy?
no,
Or?
just a bit more like feel to it,
Yeah.
rather than just simple like, you know.
So the dynamic feel, and often in a track, if it's pushed, rather than everything just on the beat, that can give that sort of sense of something with a bit more energy to it. Obviously the musical arrangement and everything else. So you agreed all that. Was that before you even got behind the drum kit?
No, we started doing the slow one, and then we realised it wasn't really working, so we swapped to, we tried to do a quick one.
Okay, cool. So with that, you got your chord formations, the time signature, all that sort of stuff. Rhythmically then, how did you know what to play on the kit?
I don't know, I just started playing like this, like quicker drum beat, and they were like, oh yeah, that's cool, let's try and do the chords on an electric guitar rather than an acoustic, because that's what we had before, and then we just sort of jammed with that and saw what we could do.
So perhaps you may have been more of an instigator by upping the tempo and perhaps providing that sort of drive on that. Switch to guitar. Okay, so when you got your guitar on, you've worked out on keyboard. How did you know what to play on guitar when it had already been worked out on the keyboard?
I don't know, just played it.
But did you know what? Did you just follow the sheet with the chord name, the chord names on there?
Yeah.
But because of your experience as a musician, if you came here not knowing any chords, you might be able to play a little bit of guitar, a few lead lines or whatever, but did you lean on your experience and say, well, hey, I know what an E minor is, I know what an A7 is, so you were able to play it straight away. So a little bit of experience leaned upon, yeah, brilliant, okay, that's cool. Then your guitar part's perhaps driven a bit more by Matt's rhythmical lead, yeah? Am I right in thinking? Cool. Okay, next bit, very important bit. This is probably more where Kev and Ben come in. Only not Aaron, because Aaron wasn't in. So when you came up with your top line vocal melody, how did you go about it? When you came up with your top line vocal melody, how did you go about it? When you came up with your... How did you structure it over the chord, and how did you know what notes you should be singing?
I wasn't really singing it. He was. He was the one that was just...
When you came up with your top... So Ben, how did you form that melody? How did you know, how did you go about it?
Basically, sing sort of different notes that fit inside the chord progression and sort of what sounded good.
But I know this sounds probably crazy to all of you guys in here, but if you were tone deaf, which I know you're not, because I've heard you sing, and I test that in auditions usually, someone who's tone deaf, unfortunately, what they hear in their head, they think it sounds great to everybody else, but it doesn't. Yeah. With regard to how you're pitching it, what you're doing, you're actually, all of those notes, if you played those notes independently then on the keyboard or guitar, 9 times out of 10 you'll find those same notes within the chords that you're playing. Yeah, you may not be aware of it as a vocalist, but this is why it's important to sort of understand scales and keys and etc. to make sure that that fits. But what about the flow and the delivery? Is that dictated by the rhythmical kind of playing of the kit and the guitar kind of riffs and? I mean, if you look at it this way, Ben, you know, if you walked away from the rest of the band, came up with your own vocal melody, then just came back, and it was a semitone out, it would sound horrendous, yeah? But I think as a vocalist, and because you're not tone deaf, you would recognise that straight away, and you'd probably make that adjustment to get it right. The other thing it could be, you get used to a flow and your tempo is slightly different to the other guys, and once again it's not going to fit, so there has to be those components that are kind of working together, and sometimes your vocal melody definitely could give a track more urgency and maybe be the better outcome that perhaps Matt was looking for when he upped the tempo. So there's a lot of considerations in what you're doing, but you're leaning on previous experiences in order to be able to do that. You're able to read the lyrics as well, and etc. etc. You know, there's a lot of considerations there. Another thing you could look at would be perhaps your use of harmony with that. And if you know that if it's a major or a minor key that you're in, whether a third or a fifth harmony or whatever might fit with certain words. And you may then decide to pick out your hook line and reinforce that, maybe with some more backing vocals, those sorts of things, yeah? But there's some good content there. Give these guys a round of applause, thank you. See, look, there are other people in the room. Okay.